Today, you are going to be planning your next chapter. In my story, I have gone into a secret shed at the bottom of the garden. I didn't know it was secret, but I did know I wasn't supposed to go in there. But I went into it. Then I discovered the door, and the door at the back of the shed led me to this most amazing forest. Everything was overgrown, but there were no animals. Not even insects, nothing in there. And it was very silent, no breeze, no wind, nothing. I then met a Mr. Bloom who told me that a wicked wizard had taken away all the animals and all the creatures' souls, locked them away in a magical chest, and it was locked with a magic key. And this key I had to find. And that's what you'll be doing today. We'll be planning it on the same grid that well, it's not the same, it's nearly the same that you had in week 1 of the story writing. So we're going to use that grid today. So this is my plan, and I'm going to be doing the talk for writing first, and then we'll look at making notes to make it better. You've got to decide then what works best for you, what's easier for you to do. So I have got on my plan here, introduce a problem. This is what we're looking at now. Is the character you met going to tell you about the problem? Yeah, in which case you will need dialogue. Or are you just going to find it along the way? So you've got to make that decision what's going to work in your story. I'm going to use the dialogue because I find it much easier then to bring the problem in that way. Plus the fact it gives me lots of marks, extra marks for using dialogue. So, especially if I punctuate it correctly. So let's go. I'm going to use the talk for writing first of all. So I've opened it with my inverted commas to know that this is going to be me speaking. So now I'm thinking, it can't be difficult. It's only a key. Now, with tears in his eyes and shaking, so this is Mr. Bloom's doing this, not very happy, is he? Tears in his eyes and shaking, and now he might cry at me, yell at me. Not sure what I'm going to use yet. That's why I've put the speech bubble, because I know he's going to be doing it in a loud way. So then I open up with my inverted commas to remind me when they go, difficult. The key is guarded by a 3-tongued dragon. Now I'm going to be thinking about the adjectives that I could use within those few sentences. So I'm thinking difficult, hard, impossible. Might change that difficult to that. Yelled or cried. And then I've got the demon terrifying, which will describe this awful dragon that's guarding the key. So now I've finished my dialogue. So now I'm thinking, let's have a look. Got to be thinking about how it's going to be. I know I've got to help him, but how? So I know, and that's to remind me, I know I've got to help him, but how? So I'm thinking, the dragon is guarding the key. And there he is in his cave. So the dragon is guarding his key, but he's going to have to leave when he gets hungry. So he's going to have to leave when he gets hungry. So that might be what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait until he gets really hungry, and then I'm going to grab that key. So in this, I have just used my talk for writing and symbols and my adjectives down there. That's all I've used in this part. So let's have a look at making notes, another way that we can plan our work. If you've been in rowing class, you've probably done it quite a lot with me, and you've also done it with Mrs. Barrett. So the idea is that you are going to be writing your notes down this section, and any adjectives that you can think of in that section, and then pull them together tomorrow to make those fantastic sentences. So I'm going to show you what I've done on my plan for my work. I'm going to walk through those paths. I'm going to find the dragon. So they might be overgrown, they might be enormous. And I'm going to find the cave, and behind it is going to be a tree. And I'm going to hide in that tree. So that's my notes to remind me what's going to happen. Yeah, I'm going to wait for the dragon to leave. I'm going to wait for him to leave. So I'm going to be feeling a little bit scared, frightened, but I'm going to wait patiently. So those words will help me for tomorrow. And suddenly the dragon is going to appear. So now I'm thinking, right, remember we did those sensors in, was it 2 weeks ago we did the sensors work? Well, I'm thinking I can use those here, real good chance to use them here. So I'm thinking, what do I see? Well, I know he's got 3 tongues. I'm going to be able to see those, and they're going to be drooling saliva all out of his mouth. Then I'm thinking, what can I feel? And I think with him being a dragon, I think I could feel the heat coming from his red hot scales. So I've used a little bit of my sensors work, and I'm going to be feeling very scared. And then I'm thinking, can I think of a better word? Can you think of a better word for scared? I'm thinking I might be terrified, might be petrified, might think of some more words to put there later. Now the dragon is going to fly off. So think about that. How am I going to be feeling now? Really scared. The wings are going to be stretched out. So I'm thinking the wings are going to be stretched out. What else might they look like? I'm thinking they might be covered in green slime. So I'm up to the stage now where I've come out the tree. The dragon has come out of his cave and he's gone and flew off. So now I'm up to the next paragraph, which I'm going to walk out of the tree and go into the cave because I can see in there. Yeah, I can see in there. I'm thinking about the branches that I've been guarding me, swaying about. And I'm thinking into the cave. What might the cave be like? Could it be cold, dark, damp? Is it bare? All of those things. So I'm going to look inside, but first of all, I can't find the key. Just then I'm going to notice something shiny. So I'm thinking, can I think of some more words for shiny? Maybe sparkling, shimmering, might add some more words. And then I found it, but it's no ordinary key. It's going to float in my hands. It floated and fell into my hands. It's going to float about. I know it's some kind of magic key. So I'm going to hold it tight in my hand and I'm going to run with it before that dragon comes back. So now I've done my plan, I just want to look at it again to see if there's any words that I can add. So I'm thinking about my senses here. I've got see and feel. Can I add another one, do you think? What I could smell. What could I smell? Think about a dragon, what he's been eating. So I'm thinking it could be leftover meat, the rotten meat that's left over. Oh, not very good, but it does add a bit of excitement to the story. Now then, any more? What about the paths? Oh, I'm going through the paths again now. The paths could be what? Be twisted and curvy. So can you see what I'm doing? I'm actually adding more and more to it. So sometimes it's nice to sort of come away for 2 minutes, have a little bit of a breather, go back, and then you can add more and more to it, which will help you tomorrow when it comes to writing it up. So now we've done our making notes. Now we're looking at wow sentences. So wow sentences. A wow sentence is a sentence that you are going to be rehearsing until you get the most fantastic sentence that you can use in your work. So basically you're practicing it and you're saying it out loud over and over again so you improve it. So you're rehearsing, checking, rehearsing all the time, yeah, until we get the perfect one. So I looked at my planning and I think one of the weakest areas I've got on my planning was when I put find the cave behind it, the tree hiding behind it. And I'm thinking, well, when I come to write up that, I might forget what I meant. So I've got to do loads and loads of thinking time, lots of thinking time here. I know I put that the tree was hiding me. I was guarding it in it and I put the branches going over. So I've got to be thinking about what tree it could be. So I'm thinking about a big tree. It's got lots of branches going on. So I'm thinking about a willow tree. The willow trees come all the way down. So I'm thinking, and it's hiding behind the cave. So I'm thinking peeking, maybe peeking out behind the cave was a willow tree. I'm thinking, let's say it again, make it better. Just peeking out behind the cave was an enormous willow tree. Just peeking out behind the cave was an enormous overgrown willow tree which stood in the sun. And I think I can get more adjectives there. Think about my expanded noun phrases that we did. Think about my relative clause and something. Just peeking out behind the cave was an enormous overgrown willow tree which stood lazily in the hot beaming sun. Then I've got my personification. So I've got to say it again so I remember it before I write it down. Just peeking out behind the cave was an enormous overgrown willow tree which stood lazily in the hot beaming sun. So I think that's a good one that I can use that wow sentence. I'm going to copy it word for word, I think, tomorrow when I'm doing my writing. If not, I might change it a little bit, but I think it's a good sentence. So I'm just thinking, so that could be my wow one. So I'm going to put it in there. Just peeking out behind the cave was an enormous overgrown willow tree which stood lazily in the hot beaming sun. So I like that one. Now I'm thinking another wow sentence I could use. And if you just want to practice one, that's fine. You can practice two, you can practice as many as you want. But remember, you've got to rehearse them all of the time to get it right. So I'm thinking about here, because this was all a little bit confusing for me when I look at my plan. I was terrified. The dragon flew off, petrified, wings stretched out, covered in green slime. So I'm thinking, there's lots going off there. I reckon I could do a really good one there. And again, I have got to do my thinking time. Thinking time. Let's have a think then. So you're standing there. I stood terrified. Now, what have I got there? Wings stretched out. I was petrified. If you're petrified, you wouldn't be able to breathe, would you? I stood terrified. Breathed in. No, I stood terrified. I stood terrified and dare not breathe. I stood terrified and dare not breathe as the dragon flew off. I stood terrified and dare not breathe as he stretched out. Because he's stretching out, look, as he stretched out his, what with his wings, his enormous wings. I stood terrified and dare not breathe as he stretched out his enormous, almost transparent, you can almost see through it, red wings, which were partly covered in green slime, because I've got my green slime there. And it flew off, and it flew off into the sun, into the sky, into the scorching sky. Wow, there's lots to remember then. I'm going to have to keep rehearsing it until I get it right. I stood terrified and dare not breathe as he stretched out his enormous, almost transparent red wings, which were partly covered in green slime, and flew off into the scorching sky. So if you've got one and you think, well, that's really good, then you need to write it down. When you think you've got it right, but remember, rehearse it till you get it right. The more you rehearse, the better it will come. So I'm thinking now, I've got my sentence there. Now I've got it, I might actually change it a little bit, because I'm thinking now I've written it down. I stood terrified and dare not breathe as he stretched out his enormous, almost transparent red wings, which were partly covered in green slime, and flew off swiftly into the scorching sky. So that's what I actually put down. Now I'm thinking, it's quite long, isn't it? I'm wondering if those short, sharp sentences, which really do a powerful job, might help me here. So I think I'm going to go for I stood terrified and dare not breathe, and take out that as, which is my conjunction, which conjunctions are really good sometimes. They're better without them if it's like this sentence, which I think I can make even better. So I've written it again. So I've put I stood terrified and dare not breathe in my explanation mark. He stretched out his enormous, almost transparent red wings, which were partly covered in green slime, and flew swiftly into the scorching sky. So there I've actually got my relative clause, I've got adverbial phrases, you name it, it's in there, all in these sentences I have been rehearsing. So I actually like this second one, sorry, the second one of this one, I stood terrified and dare not breathe. as my short sentence that really is powerful. So I want you to have a go at your wow sentences. Remember, you're just saying them out until you think, yeah, can I put another adjective? Can I do this? Can I do that? Just have a little play at saying them, and the more you say them out loud, the better they become. When you think you've got it right, quickly write it down. Don't worry so much about writing it neat, as long as you can read it until you've got it right, and then because you'll be writing it out again tomorrow. So have a go at your wow sentences. If you manage to get some really fantastic ones, which I'm sure you will, don't forget to send them to your teacher. We love those wow ones. They make us go, whoa. And I shall see you tomorrow or when we're writing it up. Bye.